Hello and welcome. Thank you all for being here with us today. I'm Nick Kanoki, Director of Technology for the Asset Leadership Network. I'm very excited for today's conversation with Jim Dieter and Kris Goly. Mike Bordenero will also be here, Executive Director for the ALN. But before we get underway, we just want to thank our ALN Platinum organizational member, Onuma System, who we had an event with, BIMstorm, launching webinar yesterday. And you can learn more about that on our website. And also, we want to thank our other patron members and all our organizational members for help making events like this, our newsletter, BIMstorms, and more possible. So please reach out if you would like to work with us. We would be happy to talk about how we can collaborate. And with that, I will say, if you're out there watching, we would love to hear from you. So please send any comments, questions, or feedback to the chat, where you can use the Q&A function of this Zoom webinar. Mike, welcome.
Thank you, Nick. And thank you for mentioning the launch of the BIMstorm, ALN BIMstorm Higher Education yesterday. It's very fitting for the topic that we're discussing today. We're going to be talking about the ISO TC 251, which is focused on asset management, and the global conference at the beginning of May, May 8th is when it starts. And the use of the standards is only valuable when it's implemented. So the BIMstorms, which are online brainstorms that simulate an asset management activity, show how the standards can be used to guide activities. So the Asset Leadership Network was started to promote a structured approach to asset management. It was based on the people from the US who were in the US delegation to ISO 55001 and 2. And it's grown into trying to help implementation. But the cycle of ISO documentation is to rewrite every set number of years. And we're now in the middle of that. And it's so rewarding that many of the Asset Leadership Network members and participants and supporters are involved in the rewrite process. It makes me really proud that we're not just showing how to use the standard, but are in there working to establish the best practices that we need to rapidly deploy around the world. So with that introduction, I would like to bring in Jim Dieter, who is the CEO of the ALN and the chair and head of the US delegation to TC 251, and bring in Kris Goly, who is an international asset management expert and has put that expertise to use in helping form ISO 55001, 2, and many other versions of ISO 55K. And thank you both for joining us. Why don't we start off with an overview of all of the ISO documents and then bring it down to the ones that are being rewritten right now. Jim, can you give us a quick overview of the list of the ISO 55K document series?
Well, sure, but Kris was the one that was running through that so well. But
all right, Kris, you did a real good job before we started to just quickly zip through them. Will you again give us a quick overview of all the ISO documents? Oh, you're on mute, Kris. Please unmute.
I know. Thank you. There is quite a few standards that already been published and some new in development, starting from 55,000, and that's the baby of Jim. So Jim, I will let you talk about the 00 document, and I will move to other ones.
Go ahead, Jim. Yeah.
Okay. We're playing tennis. I got it. Okay. Yeah, so this 00 document, I've worked on since the very beginning, back in 2011 or whatever. And it's quite interesting. And we're having a lot of discussion right now around the principles. In the 2014 version, they were called fundamentals after much debate. Interestingly, the title of the document said principles, but we didn't have principles, we had fundamentals. So we're calling them principles this time. And we are 3 years into our rewrite, still talking about the principles and how to define them and which ones they are, etc. One discussion is around assurance, which is one of the original 4 fundamentals. You know, is that a principle? Some people say it's not a principle because it's such a part of all asset management. But to me, that's kind of the definition of what principle is. So it's
So the 55,000 document, in short, because we want to go through, there's a lot of these, we want to just quickly address them.
Oh, quickly. Okay.
Is the principles document, the list of definitions and principles.
Yeah, you know, in basic concepts. Yeah.
Basic concepts. Okay, Kris?
And the 01 document, or 55,001, is the proper standard. This is the shell document. So basically setting up the base, what company shall establish, what company shall meet in order to implement and comply with the standards. The document is being rewritten right now. Right now, the emphasis is on reducing the shell statements. There is a consensus that we have too many shell statements. We increase this probably from 80 to around 120. So the goal right now is going back to the basic and squeeze this to 80, because 120 is unworkable, basically. Again,
it's the list of the shall statements.
That's correct.
Okay.
That company has to comply with in order to get certified.
Okay. And 55,002?
And 55,002 is like a textbook, is a implementation guide for 01. So they exactly give you basic examples how to implement 01 document. It's been around for a while, and once the 01 will be released as a new edition in, I believe, 2024, we will start reworking 02 document to make sure it reflects all the changes in 01 document.
Okay, and the other ones?
The other ones that I'm familiar with are coming in 1 year. It is 55,012 and 013. 012 is basically about workforce involvement and engagement. So this is kind of a not really standard, more like technical specification, what organizations should do in order to make sure that their workforce get involved in asset management, how they get trained, how the information flow is there to make sure that basically the workforce health organization create a value out of assets in a nutshell. It's right now is in the DIS stage, like any others, and DIS or this means draft international standards. And the same with 013. 013 is about data and information management. And there are two number of interesting topics: data, asset data. So basically, data related to asset in asset management context, and data assets, or basically data as an asset, how important it is and how to manage this. Also,
excellent.
How to convert data to information and so on. So again, we are finalizing the document right now.
Excellent. And then the other two that are in progress are 55,010, which I believe deals with asset management finance, and 55,011, which is asset management for government
That's correct.
organizations.
And fortunately, we have people heavily involved in both of those. Rich Culbertson has been very involved in 55,010. And Jack Kelly has been very involved in 55,011. I was tempted to say something controversial about one or the other to see if they get Jack Kelly riled up. Perhaps we'll save that for later in the show.
And Jack Kelly and Rich Culbertson are both ALN board members and ALN senior fellows. We appreciate their contributions to the standard and their energy they contribute to the ALN. So what we're here to talk about is the opportunity that the international gathering in Philadelphia starting May 8th provides to US individuals and US organizations. Jim, what do you see as the value that can be gained from having this on our home turf?
Yeah, this will be the third time we've hosted in the US. First time was in Arlington, one of the early meetings. Later, in the first go around of the draft documents, we met at Esri headquarters through the efforts of David Totman. It was also excellent. So we want to continue that tradition of excellent meetings here in the US and, and from around the world too. Meetings in lots of interesting places. But it's a chance for US companies doing business in the US and beyond, to be in front of and involved with leading thinkers from around the world. I always refer to being involved in these, especially the in-person meetings. It's not like a master's degree in asset management. It's like a postdoctoral degree in asset management. It's, you get really smart people that are really thought leaders and people influencing, far beyond, any immediate consulting opportunities, although many of them are involved in that. But leading thought leaders and people framing, the future of asset management. I always like to tell the story of when we finished the first draft of ISO 55,000 and we were waiting for it to be published, which is when we started the ALN. And we said, if, and this was in 2014, say, if we could just get one article in Bloomberg or Wall Street Journal about asset management so people, organizational leaders could really understand what asset management is about, that would be awesome. We'd start to make some progress. Well, boy, in 10 years, have we blown that away? There's not, any knowledgeable organization leader anywhere that isn't aware of asset management and the impact it has on their organization. There's always lots of room to know more, but nobody confuses it with wealth management, within our context anymore. So it's a chance to move it further forward. I think much like our ALN events, it often takes us to surprising new places, and it's a chance to be a part of that process.
So an individual can gain tremendous knowledge and insights on the most advanced asset management techniques. What can an organization that might want to support the efforts by sponsoring a breakfast or a lunch or speaker?
One thing that really struck me about this ISO process for management systems is from the beginning and in all of the sessions we've had around the world, and been a lot of places for ISO meetings, that there always happen as the result of organizations being willing to sponsor events and meals and other activities, and that the group greatly honors the people that are the sponsors and greatly appreciates them. We, even for a short break in the morning or, some coffee and donuts or whatever, the sponsoring organization gets a few minutes to stand next to their banner and talk about what they think is important in asset management and, briefly share a bit about their organization and what their involvement is. Then for lunches and dinners and wine tastings and other events, there's even greater opportunity to share thoughts. So it's a kind of a one-of-a-kind opportunity.
Kris, what has been some of your experience with the knowledge you've gained and the understanding of sponsors you've gained from going to the different delegation meetings?
I think from my perspective, because I participated in a number of plenary meetings around the world, the interesting part is how much you gain, because different organizations in different part of the world got slightly different look at the asset management and the experience. They provide different knowledge and technology as well. So you always learn something, you only know what you know. And people from around the world, once you share experience, definitely enriches your knowledge. Usually the presentations are 10 to 15 minutes. It depends on, it is a lunch break. If somebody is sponsoring dinner at night, it's much longer and so on. And all the sponsors, of course, they can mingle with people. People usually come to them and ask questions, get some more information, contacts, and so on. So this is a great opportunity for sponsors to make contacts, both internally in US and around the world. So from that perspective, the exposure and from the marketing point of view is great opportunity, as well as learning, of course.
I would have loved to have gone to the event at the Esri headquarters. That sounded like it was quite an opportunity. The foundation for global information systems that Esri provides is totally aligned with asset management. We've got a couple of comments here that I want to get to before we go on. First of all, there is a comment about clarifying ISO 55011. I might have been too general when I said that it was about government asset management. Kris and Jim, either one of you want to
Can't say anything about 11, and I'm not an expert in this area, so I will refrain from any comments. I know that we have few people out there, Mark LaPlante and Jack Kelly, who are expert in this area, so let them speak.
All right, we'll ask them to become panelists. Mark and Jack, let us know through the chat if you're willing to become a panelist.
Yeah, just let them become panelists. That's good.
Well, they might not have their hair done or whatever, who knows? They don't want to. And then Cecilia Mowat asks about, well, this is probably a question for Kris about relevant stakeholders.
Yeah.
Do you see that comment there?
Yeah, I can see it, and I would advise Cecilia, to contact me. You probably have my email address, so we can exchange more detailed information. I cannot share this document right now and talk about too many details. Remember, this is just a DIS stage, not even DIS. It's working document, so we cannot tell too many details, on webcasts like that.
Okay.
So you have my email address, I believe.
Yeah, I'll make sure she has that. So thank you. And Jack, will you please let us know the proper description of ISO 55011?
I think I put it in the chat. Essentially, one of the things that's common about all of the ISO standards, the TC 251 standards, except for 55011, is all of them take the perspective of an organization, the things that an organization has to do in order to implement asset management, or to coordinate its asset management activities with its financial activities, or to bring competency into its asset management activities, or to deal with data as an asset. I mean, these are things that organizations are expected to do to improve the way that they are adopting asset management, according to ISO 55001. So 55011 doesn't look at what an individual it looks at what an individual organization needs to do to impact other organizations that are essentially stakeholders to other other organizations. We coined a term that's a new term for TC 251 called the enabling environment for asset management. And what that is like a national perspective on the different forces, stakeholders, if you will, that impact the adoption of asset management by individual organizations. Now, we choose to do this through public policy. So at the end of the day, it's how we can influence organizations to influence the political processes in their various countries and political jurisdictions to advance the cause of asset management. That's very different from all the other the TC 251 standards.
Great, thank you for that clarification. And one of the nice aspects of this event is that it's in Philadelphia, and one of the days is scheduled to be at ASTM headquarters, if I understand that correctly.
All 3 days.
Oh, excellent. So what does that bring to the occasion?
Well, ASTM is where our involvement in standards started around asset management in the United States. Several of us started ASTM Committee 53 in 2000, 2001 timeframe, and have developed 20-some standards. And it's also the host. ASTM is also the host organization in the U.S. for our U.S. Technical Advisory Group. So in some countries, their national standards body develops standards and is the host for various technical advisory groups, or mirror committees are sometimes called, for various standards. But in the U.S., ANSI assigns it to various standards making organizations like ASTM. And ASTM is one of the originals. And it goes back to the 1900s, and the gauges of railroads, etc. They actually helped start ISO. So, they have literally tens of thousands of standards, and it is, it's around the world. So having it at their headquarters is a huge advantage, because we don't have to rent hotel rooms. And we have Nora Numeracher, who's our staff support person there, to help us put the meetings on, and take advantage of the ASTM facilities, which we don't often do. We had one meeting there previously. It was like our initial kickoff meeting to start the U.S. Technical Advisory Group. And it's a great facility right outside Philadelphia, near the main line. We always joke it's in West Conshohocken. I just found out Conshohocken is just over the Schuylkill River, across from ASTM. But yeah, close by downtown Philadelphia. And we hope to take advantage of that in being in Philadelphia and its connection to democracy and freedom as part of our putting this event on in May.
One way that I explain to people standards is best practices. And if there is an organization that is developing advanced technology or advanced best practices, I would think that sponsorship of this would get them not only involved in what's happening with the asset management standards, but puts them in front of the ASTM to help them further their promotion of their best practices, possibly through ASTM.
That's possible, yeah. Yeah. Was that a question?
I kind of just want to make that as a statement. If anybody else wanted to talk about anything that they've seen happen.
Yeah, so Rich Culbertson, again, we mentioned before, one of our senior fellows and a board member, is the current chair of ASTM Committee 53 on Asset Management. So perhaps we should have Rich on sometime and talk more about ASTM and the ASTM standards. That would be an excellent program.
And then Jack, are you planning on being in Philadelphia?
I certainly am.
What are you looking forward to?
Well, I'm looking forward to meeting. I mean, I didn't join, TC 250 or the US tag until 2020, well into the pandemic. So my only connection with a lot of the people on these calls, particularly the international calls, has been Zoom. And so I'm looking forward to meeting some of these folks in person and actually, going out and having informal chats with them, learning more about their countries, learning more about what's going on regarding asset management in their countries. So a lot of stuff that you don't have time for on these structured meetings. The other thing is that sometimes the meetings are more frustrating, for me at least, in terms of trying to resolve certain issues. And I think when you can talk to a person, directly, you can read their body language, you can follow up on points that they make that you wouldn't have time to do on a Zoom call necessarily. I think you can get a lot more work done and come to consensus more easily than you can the way we've been doing it for the last couple of years. At least that's what I'm looking forward to.
So that makes me think, Kris and Jim, you might have experienced some of that type of logjam release. Is there anything that you can say about the value of meeting together in person?
Oh, definitely. I concur with Jack. You meet people face to face. You are in the same room. It's completely different discussion than you're talking on the Zoom meeting or WebEx or whatever it is. And not only that, but you have a lunchtime, and you can meet just one-on-one, have discussion, and late afternoon or at the evening go to a bar and have a beer and discuss this in completely different environment. So the progress is much, much quicker, and consensus is much quicker than doing the Zoom meeting. And my experience, especially recently, is that you achieve consensus on Zoom meeting, and 2 weeks later you're getting a flurry of emails completely disagreeing with everything. So you're making, one step forward and 3 steps back almost sometimes. But if you meet in a room, it's completely different dynamics and different atmosphere. And so from that perspective, for people from US going to Philadelphia, there's one experience. But if you're going overseas, I remember going, to different countries. You meet also the culture. You see the different countries, and there's also a good way of exploring different culture as well.
Excellent. Jim?
Yeah, I would certainly second everything Kris said. I do think there's advantages to virtual meetings, but I think there's, for the TC, we've long looked forward to getting back to in-person meetings because we can make that kind of progress that Jack and Kris were talking about. I wish we could talk about this over a beer. That's, it's that kind of a,
Right?
yeah. No, it's, and you learn, it's easy, you can develop relationships and understand how you can trust people and understand the background of their point of view, not just a statement of what they think it should be, but get more into the why of why people think the way they do. And I know Jack has certainly run into the cultural and political differences in countries from around the world in 55,011. When you only lived under one system of government, it can be quite enlightening to talk to people that have other systems of government that have their own peculiarities and et cetera. But in general, I'd like to say, for a final thought from me, is people that are involved in asset management. And as I said before, this is growing so huge. It's just, there's an amazing amount of activity around asset management. And if your organization or you as an individual are involved in asset management, and think of yourself as a leader and having leading practices, I can't imagine not being involved in the ISO standards process. It's first a way to pay back some of the people that have done it before and help advance the thinking. But if you're really good at it, please share what you have learned and your insights and help move this forward. The original document at the time in 2014, I said, this is the best document on asset management that's ever been published in the history of the world. I'm not sure that's true anymore, but we hope to make this document, when it comes out, to be able to say that again.
Excellent. And we hope that more of the people who are involved in the Asset Leadership Network and listen to our videos agree with Jim, and that we can see more of you at Philadelphia. If you want any information about sponsoring activities there, you can contact us at the assetleadership.net, or email us, reach out, and we'll get you information about sponsorship. So thank you, Jack, for joining us. Thank you, Kris, for being here. And thank you, Jim Dieter. And Nick, thank you. Can you bring us home?
Of course. Yeah, really appreciated that last point you made there, Jim, of just how important it is to hang out with people and learn a little more about the why, not just what they think, but where it's coming from. Really liked that anecdote there. And what a great reason to show up in person to an event. But thank you all for being here with us today virtually. And thank you to our ALN Platinum organizational member, Onuma System, who we are excited to be continuing a higher education BIM storm with in the coming weeks. Thank you to our patron members and other organizational members for making this and other programming possible. Please reach out if you would like to join up and collaborate on something in the asset management realm, which could affect really any industry. So please reach out. And with that, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.